Hey, Larry.
Stephanie, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good.
Join us for lunch.
I just had breakfast.
Yeah.
I didn't even hear.
I've been all over with it.
Never stopped me.
He was. He said, "Let your mouth in there." I didn't realize it this morning.
And then when we get done with this, I'm gonna take it down so we can show our video.
Boys. I'll send her to you.
Do it there.
And then she can say she's appreciating next time.
They'll get ready to redo this. This should be a yellow.
You know what's new, did you? We were down there to do something.
I think Ray don't
The reason I had to put this up here is
go on my knees.
TVA in the state or so.
That's a terrible disease.
Me and Larry
Sell this piece of property. Yeah, it is. So, I'm not down road. On what it's gonna take to move it. So we're gonna try to figure out a way to go about
up on the big old
this.
snag tree, no leaves on it.
That homeland wow is big yellow too. This whole area.
The yellow is sold and green
Is occupied.
green is available. Right. White is unsold.
Come back with that tree, and that's what we thought. See, we ended up being.
Flood zone. This is all, the flood runs right through here.
Yeah, I might have to try some.
Boy, you know, it's delicious. You can say
Denise Ryan. Tennessee manufacturer. I met her yesterday.
Go over to Hollywood.
She would be somebody good for us. Had invite her.
The last win. Right outside of Valdez. Now these values right over there. They were all good.
Same bounce?
Water getting them sound.
not bad.
Bill's not here.
Danny's not here. Is he? Here or not, son-in-law.
go ahead and, if we could, call the meeting to order. We've got a few items we need to go over today, and then immediately following this, some of us have to go to another meeting with the, some of the surrounding mayors and, working on a project for WIOA. I wanna welcome each of you here today. We've got, Mr. Jeff Bobo with the Kingsport Times News, and I wanna say some kind words about Mr. Bobo. He kind of got me in hock with the state and networks and some of them by getting ahead of the state. But all in all, we got two really fine pieces of journalism on our latest venture with the Canadian company. So Jeff always does a great job for us, and thank him for being here. We've got Jeff, John Burdine, as always, it's been very helpful with TCAT. Today, and Glenn Hutchins, the city recorder's with us. We've got three guests with us tonight. Stephanie Lord. If you don't know Stephanie, they're the owners of the Kyle House that have done all the great renovations out there, her and her husband Randy. They were also graduates of the Houston Business Development Center with a company that's been very successful called Protocraft. And so they're just true entrepreneurs in the truest sense. So we're glad to have Stephanie with us. She's in Hawkins leadership, is the reason she's here, and we've got two other young men here, Mark Collier and Adam Tate. Welcome to the May meeting of the Hawkins County Industrial Development Board. So we'll call the meeting to order, and did everyone receive a copy of the minutes? Now I hear a motion that we accept them as mailed. Got a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? So moved. Secretary of Treasury, Rebecca.
Beginning balance on March 22nd, because we did not have an April meeting, was $15,759.65. As you will look down through the list of the deposits, most of them are just our normal deposits, except we had the TBA Economic Development Grant of $1,250 that we was awarded, and then the state of Tennessee on 4/17 sent us a $200,000 wire transfer, and that was the Homeland Vinyl Grant, which has to be run through the industrial board. And then we write out a check to Homeland Vinyl, which was down under the checks on 4/30 for $200,000. Then most of all the other checks are just our regular utilities and our copier leases for the WIOA program and the visa activity, leaving a balance in checking of $18,299.52. One CD at Civis Bank for $6,117.14.
Have any questions concerning the financial reports?
You will be seeing a lot of larger deposits within the next little bit, because all of our grant money that's been awarded to all these expansions and new industries has to run through the industrial board. So that's the reason they'll be in there, and then you'll see a check.
Y'all charge a handling fee.
Yeah. I'm just glad to be able to hand them out to the expanded industries, and it requires quite a bit of work on the part of the industrial board to handle all those things, and as I mentioned to the budget committee the other day and the Hawkins County Commission, I don't think some of them fully understood. You don't get those things without an industrial board, and it does require quite a bit of effort to keep up, maintain. If they say they're gonna hire 50 new people and spend so many $1 million, you've gotta document that to the industrial board, then we send that to the state verifies it then, and writes us a check, and then we turn around and write a check then to the industry. So it's a process of checks and balances on the part of these agencies that fund, like TVA and the state and different ones that fund money to industry when they build or expand or do whatever. And so it works, but it's a lot of work on our part to get it done. Anyone else have any questions on the financials? Hearing none, do I have a motion that we accept these by our records? Got a motion, a second. Second, all in favor say aye. Any opposed, like sign. Don't know of any committee reports. I guess I would move right into old business. You all passed a budget here at our last meeting, and that budget we presented to the budget committee, which was at this time the full commission. They wanted to meet. Everybody was invited to the meeting, and we did present a budget to them, and we went over the different requests that we had in there. And then we had asked for additional money in that budget, as you recall, for Rebecca, with all of her new certifications and everything, as being a Tennessee certified economic developer, that we felt like that job needed to be reclassified and paid appropriately for all of the work and everything that's required in this job, and also that you have to have the credentials and everything that she now has. So we, Carrie and I, went down last week and met with the personnel committee and discussed that with them, and after quite a bit of discussion on their part, they all agreed that they needed to do something. They just couldn't agree on the amount that we had asked for. And so they finally passed a motion to increase it $2,700, which was the midpoint range on the same step, or was that what you, grade level, I guess. They didn't, to get the position repositioned in grades was going to require us bringing somebody in that whoever did this particular survey for them. And so anyway, the number that goes in our budget proposal to the that will be in front of the full commission did include a $2,700 increase for this position. We didn't feel like that was near enough, but the situation is what it is. So hopefully that they will take our request. I did quite a long presentation because I felt like there was new commissioners there, and there was also commissioners there that possibly had not heard how we went about getting Phipps Bend and all the millions of dollars that's been spent at Phipps Bend through the years, none of it being county money, all of it state money, federal money, Hawkins Gas, Host Electric, TVA. Everybody spent all this money, and all the county has to do though is maintain the park. You've got to, when the state built the initial roads, all the roads in there, and you have to now come in and pave them occasionally. I think they've paved them one time since over the last 25 years, but you got to maintain the road right-of-ways and stuff like that, and the lighting of the roadways and stuff. And so hopefully they will take all that into consideration when they're passing the budget this year, because I thought what we were asking for was very reasonable. The only increase was for those 18 lights that would light the entrance into Phipps Bend. and a few items, to help maintain the right of way, some, blowers and, weed eaters and things of that nature. We didn't ask for any tractors. We did ask for $5,000. Possibly, it may not cost that much to repair one of the tractors that we use, all the time up there. We've had to basically set it aside until we get it repaired, and use it, so, that's in the budget. And we'll see how all that goes when they do get down to voting on that. I'm sure that you all, many of you were at the announcement for the RMC Advanced Technologies, and I thought that went very well. We were so pleased to have Commissioner Raw, representing the governor at that meeting. You know, all the paperwork, all the legal work, all the survey work, and that's one of the things I was explaining to the commission. When you have business, you have more expenses, because, you know, if you don't have anybody looking, and you don't have to do any surveys, you don't have to do any land transfers, you don't have the legal expense. But if you are busy and are bringing in new industry, the expenses go up. So, I mean, it's a good thing to have those expenses. But anyway, all that went without a hitch, and I know I received a call from the consultants that brought them here on Saturday morning. We've got to have it, you all talk on Mondays, and then I talk to them on Saturdays for the last, I don't know how many months now, and they explained to us that we were the reason that, you know, the good people that they met when they came in was the reason that they chose this site over all the other sites, and the fact that we had a spec building. And so they were much encouraging us to revisit that, and possibly with a different group to help fund the thing rather than maybe the county. We may go back, and I know we've already had discussions with the U.S. Department of Agriculture and different ones, but we are looking at some different ways of doing that. We've been fairly successful. We just had a long dry spell with a particular building that we had. But that doesn't mean it wasn't a good idea to begin with. We didn't know they were going into a major recession, and we just kind of got caught in the mix on that. But anyway, we are talking to those consultants. They have a contract with the Canadian government to bring industries from Canada into the Southeast, and they have become very close friends of Clay's and Rebecca and I, and you spend a lot of time with them, and I'm sure they're interested in possibly doing more business with us in the future. And so we just need to keep our contacts up with them. Hopefully they're gonna come back to your fall race, I hope, so we'll see how that goes. But anyway, there is one more expansion announcement that should be coming out within the next few days, and so keep your eye on the Kingsport Times News, and they'll let you know about that. The one thing I wanted to bring up, the reason we put this map up here, before we can go forward with much of anything on a larger site, is this green line that intersects this large lot right here is a real problem, according to Clay and his associates at TVA and the state. But that is a main sewer line that goes all through the park. That's the way from everything from here up, all the sewer goes through this line down to the pump station. We have asked Madden and Craig, and they gave us a rough estimate of what it would cost to move or abandon this line and rebuild it in a different place. The cost of that is somewhere between $650,000 and $800,000. So what we're going to do then is go to the different funding sources and reapply. You know, you've got USDA, you've got the state, you've got TVA. Maybe it's a joint effort on our part, but basically that is a major site there. That's, you know, if you looked at all of that, you would be looking at somewhere in the neighborhood of 120 acres. You know, if you only looked at down maybe to the cooling tower base, it's certainly a fairly large site, and we would like to be able to get this line moved and have it ready for, you know, the folks that market these projects like this. You really can't wait until a project is ready to do something and say, well, if you come, we'll move it for you. You know, you've got to go ahead and get things like that ready. I'm not sure exactly how that ended up. Maybe it's just the landscape or whatever. I'm not sure exactly how it got where it's at with the configuration of the roads and things, but it's a major issue. We are addressing it with networks and with Mattern and Craig. And
so the guesstimate you got is to move it over toward the road that runs in front of what, the old building C, or is it extended back toward the cooling tower direction and then down the power line?
They were talking about possibly moving it south, so which would be this direction. It looks to me like, but now, you know, you got to have a drop.
Is it gravity?
Everything's gravity fed, and so, you know, obviously it may be this deep here, but when you get down to here, you know, it's probably over your head. So it's you know, my thought would be to run it down through here.
That's where it ought to be.
Anyway, but they're gonna, rather than spending a lot of money, Mattern and Craig was good enough to go down and look at it and give us a proposal based on some assumptions, and then we will, you know, at least that gets us a you know, stepping off point to start talking to funding agencies about what it's going to take to fix it.
We've got another serious problem that needs to be solved,
And that is.
and that's the water. You know, we shut the whole park down in the last water break we had. And we need about 10 valves to control that.
We need what?
About 10 valves can control that.
Right.
But that needs to be done really seriously, because everybody was shut down.
Right.
They're bringing porta potties in, lines were shut down, Cooper was shut down, Taker Glass was shut down, wire was shut down. If Miyagi had been up, they'd been shut down. I was shut down.
Right. It is a major problem.
It's a major problem.
And those lines, you know, we were able to go to the state, and I recall this because Ronnie Price and I went down and were able to get the state to fund for the Segursville Utility District all the water lines and a 750,000 gallon water tank on the hill up there. So it's a problem. You're exactly right. Those lines have been in there now for 20-some years. I'm not sure. The line that cracked and had to be repaired was a 12-inch water line. That's a huge water line. And it took way too long to get that thing fixed. And so we're gonna meet with the utility district and see, you know, it's their, we're not in the water business anymore, we're in the gas business or electric business, and so we've got to go through them to see what can be done. And
I mean, it shut down sprinkler systems in the plant, it shut everything.
oh, it shuts everything down. I mean, the whole, you know, it's a safety factor, all
It
of
just needs to be
the,
valved.
everything is stopped. And so basically, that's a real issue.
Well, I've looked at it pretty good. 10 valves in the right location will allow you to cut different sections off.
Right.
If a break is at Cooper, you can
Right.
cut Cooper out, everybody else can function.
Right. We're going to, we have asked, Mattern and Craig to look at it also and to give us some advice on how to proceed with that.
Cars will still service that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was another problem.
So, we're gonna try to meet with the board and, we're trying to set a meeting up as we speak with them as to how to proceed with this. We'll get back to you as we move forward with that. Anyway, that's pretty much, the two items, that I had to talk about on this, was the sewer line, which impacts the largest piece of property that we still have left, so we can mark it in, and also the water situation. For the benefit of you all that don't know, the water line burst on a Sunday morning fairly early, and it didn't get completely fixed until Monday afternoon. So for that length of time, every industry in Phipps Bend was shut down. So it's just something that's unacceptable for that length of time.
If it hadn't been for other utilities jumping in there to helping, still would.
Yeah, well, it's, you know, I talked with you that morning and you said Rogersville was there, Churchill was there, Kingsport was there, and then, what's the young man's name that, actually had the equipment that fixed it,
Smith.
Shane Smith.
Shane was there.
Shane and them got it and coupled it and fixed it and got the water back on, so, that's something that we, you know, we just gotta try to deal with, so we're gonna try to have some meetings with them on that.
Larry, how many acres, is left to develop in that piece right there? Do you know?
On this,
What we're saying, yeah.
well, there's about 120 or 30 acres, but you know, one of the problems is this, you've got the cooling tower base that's there. And we think we've got this, easement, that TVA maintains through here somewhat figured out now, which opens up this back 40 acres here, so, all told is about 120 or 30 acres. You know, when the state or TVA comes out and talks about a project or sends, asking for an RFP, you gotta have so many acres. That's one of the things they ask for. And so, right now, we really can't say, well, yeah, we've got one because of that sewer line. So, Clay, you were gonna say something?
We've submitted on projects too that have maybe more of a campus that don't need it all square, because this road's proposed. I don't know if you can read that. And we can actually add all of this acreage into a really nice site. So, I mean, it could be for a really big project. There's some topo, this topo isn't quite as good as above it, but it's still not bad, and especially for our region, it's pretty good. So it goes beyond just the rectangular site. You can kind of have a nice little L-shaped site there too.
Right. You know, one of the large projects that came through, you did just that. Clay and Networks had, 4-wheelers lined up and tents set up. And they came in helicopters and everything. It's quite impressive for me. but they showed them this whole area. The problem with that site, or that particular group, is their one building in a straight line was almost a mile long, and we really didn't have a site that could accommodate that, and they didn't want to make a turn, you know. But they were, very impressed with the site and everything. So anyway, but that's what we're working on with the different funding agencies now. Hopefully, we can work something out. You've got a video.
Yeah.
This,
I hope you can hear the sound.
My name is Nancy Barker, and I'm the Executive Director of the Rogersville Hawkins County Chamber of Commerce. The Chamber's main objective is to bring business into Hawkins County. We will work with any businesses, offer incentives if it's possible. We do an adult leadership program. We do a Keep Hawkins Clean program. We also work on retail and development. We are a certified Tennessee Main Street program, Rogersville is. We offer incentives for people to locate into the downtown. So a great advantage to being part of that program.
I'm Rebecca Baker with the Hawkins County Industrial Development Board. I'm the Executive Administrative Coordinator, and our goal is to bring new industries into the area. We have a Phibbsbend Industrial Park located in Zagornsville, Tennessee. We have lots of acreage there available, anywhere from 5 acres to 100 acres. It would fit any array of needs for industries, from small businesses to large ones. We have infrastructure inside the park. It's on site. We do have rail access available as well. It's the only industrial park in Tennessee with a Tennessee College of Applied Technology inside of the park. The Tennessee College of Applied Technology can cater to any needs that the industries may have for a la carte training. There are still several sites available in the Phibbsbend Industrial Park.
My name's Rhonda Patterson, and I work for CF here in Rogersville, Tennessee, and I'm the HR manager here. There's a lot of good partnerships here. The industrial board we work pretty closely with here. When there's other industries coming into the area, we try to work with other industries to tell them about what our success has been here as far as with the workforce and partnering in the community. Whenever they first looked for a site for this particular facility, the one thing that they really liked about this area, about East Tennessee, was just the natural beauty of the area, the work ethic of the people here. The people are always good, dependable to come to work, a lot of good skill sets in the area that you can find. Again, it's a great place to raise a family. There's a lot of natural beauty here, a lot of great lakes that you can take advantage of, and again, the quality of the workforce here and the dependability of the workforce here.
My name is Gabrielle Buchanan, and I'm the Human Resources Manager here at Cooper Standard Automotive. The biggest reason why we're located here is because of the centralized location to our suppliers. We're very close to that. It's not a huge expense to either ship to Michigan or to Springfield, Tennessee.
My name is Barry Reeves. I'm the HR manager here at Yaki Forging North America Corporation here in Phibbsbend Industrial Park in wonderful Hawkins County, Tennessee. We chose this for 3 primary reasons. Number 1 is the workforce. Second is because there's infrastructure already in place. And third was because of the location to our customer. The workforce has got a great manufacturing base and are looking for long-term and stable employment. As far as the infrastructure goes, Phibbsbend was a perfect location. We're close to the interstate. Transportation is great.
My name is John Burdine. I'm the campus coordinator here at the Tennessee College of Applied Technology, Morristown, Hawkins County branch. Our mission statement is really just to train people and put them to work. Here in Hawkins County, we offer industrial maintenance, industrial electricity, welding, HVAC, and AOT, which is Administrative Office Technology. We do have quite a partnership with the businesses and the industry because we want them to know that they can depend on us if they need special industry training.
My favorite part about Hawkins County, again, is the natural beauty of the area. I basically look up and look out my back porch and see the Smoky Mountains. So as far as the view that I've got, it's unfortunate that way.
The area is awesome. I have a lot of restaurants and shopping to choose from, but I can get out in nature. So I can go shop, but I can come down here and I can also purchase my produce fresh off the farm as well. So it has been a wonderful experience. I would not want to live anywhere else in the world.
And who produced that for us?
That was made possible through the Northeast Tennessee Regional Industrial Development Association. They had a grant opportunity, and so they reached out to some of the local industrial boards and things around the area to see if they would be interested in doing a small marketing video, and so they asked me and I said sure. So that was how we got that video, was through them.
That's great. Is it on your website now?
No, it will be. I didn't want to put it on there until I showed the board, and all the ones that participated needs to get a copy first. So.
You saw the new human resources person at Yaki, and we just received notice from him. He's I think Rebecca's going up to meet with him next week, and they're gonna have a grand opening. They want to have a kind of a ribbon cutting when they get everything in, and they tell me that the trucks are rolling in every day, putting in new equipment and stuff. They're looking at maybe the 1st of September, the end of August, 1st September or something. We'll get word out to you for that. We're going down, WIOA, you want to say a word or two, Sherry, about what we're into?
Well, the program, we're still doing good in the program. The Workforce Board did vote to decrease the number of LWDA regions from, I think, 13 to 9, which means Hawkins, Hancock, and Greene will go to Area 1. The current contract with Walter State ends on June 30th, but we do have a 3-month extension with them. So Walter State will have the program through September 30th. After that point, AB&T will be the new fiscal administrator, which is Alliance for Business and Training in Elizabethton. So we are currently working very hard to get our RFP submitted to them by May 31st. So, and we're not sure who else will be bidding, but we are definitely bidding and hope to retain the program.
And the industrial board has been the overseer, I guess, for lack of a better word, huh?
Service provider.
Service provider for this program for over 25 years, and we feel like our numbers are better than almost any other county in Northeast Tennessee, and probably in the state of Tennessee. And they're interested in us keeping the program, but we may have to pick up another county or two. So we're meeting this afternoon on that very thing, and so we'll get back with you as soon as we do. I think it brings, our budget for this year was almost $350,000 of federal money that comes into Hawkins County. So it's a worthwhile effort on our part because they hire a lot of young people that gives a lot of skills to a lot of people, helps them get their GEDs. And Sherry and before her Elizabeth and them have all done a great job at running this program. So if there's any way possible, we'd like to keep it. And so we'll see how that goes and keep you updated. As I told the county commission last week, the best money they've spent since I've been associated with this thing is the $50,000 that we give networks, and the proof, as my mother used to say, is in the pudding, and we've got a list this long of projects and expansions and new businesses. And Clay, you got a few words to say about where we're going from here.
Yeah, well, first of all, I apologize for being late. There was a wreck just on the Kingsport edge of Mount Carmel that had traffic backed up to go around, so I apologize. Speaking of pudding, that's why I haven't eaten yet either. So don't use phrases like that just now. I agree. We're very happy with the partnership. I think now I think if you look at when we talked 3.5 years ago when we first started talking about priorities and what we could do, I think development of that big site is what we really have left to check off and do and put a big box project there. That's one of the reasons that we were so drawn to marketing, and again, the partnership, the history, and I don't think that that's talked about enough. I got an email from Jeff Fleming this week about what some of these projects have meant to Kingsport and why we do it, and the long-standing partnership with Kingsport and Hawkins County. I think it's an outstanding story to tell, and it's been successful. The spec building, of course, was a big thing I know the county was concerned with, and so it's good to have that checked off. And if I had to say what the priority would be, it would be to move the sewer line that Larry described. I think that's the most important thing we could do to get a real meaningful community changing project, would be to get that site better prepped. But we made progress on that site. It's been encouraging. And there are all kinds of grants to help us do that, and we may have to go through certain steps to be eligible for those grants, but we'll deal with that and maybe come up with a game plan for that. I think in the spirit of partnership, we probably ought to talk soon about, with Larry and Rebecca, about what we're, kind of our property development and focus and strategies in Sullivan County, and how we could complement each other, and again, keep this partnership moving as it has for the mutual benefit of all of the communities. Very excited about the announcement last week. Along with, again, I was late, you may have mentioned, Miyake came to look at the spec building. So you kind of got 2 new companies out of that spec building, which is a win by all standards. Our red carpet tour, we've been very focused on that for the past several days because we just now got a little breathing room to where we could. We've got, again, we focus on aerospace a lot in networks, and that's not just for Aerospace Park, that's for all of the parks we represent. We've submitted good spend on some aerospace projects. We always try to get one aerospace specific consultant to come to red carpet, and we've done it every year we've had it, and our first commitment was from our #1 target for an aerospace consultant, and so we're very pumped up about that. One of the things we're doing differently that I haven't really had time to, I'll be sending an email to all of our partners this afternoon. On our Friday night community dinner, rather than do a formal dinner at 620 State in Bristol, we're looking to do a reception and songwriters event at the Birthplace of Country Music Museum, and we're just switching that up. I think it's going to be a cool thing. We have a songwriter lined up who's a Grammy award-winning songwriter. I was at a TP event with him a few weeks ago in Savannah, Georgia, and I talked to him about Bristol and the Birthplace of Country Music. He knew the whole history. Anyway, we ended up booking him earlier this week. So we're working very hard on that. We're going to have a video out soon about quality of life that's very regional in focus, and don't want to say too much about that because we have a very unique kind of rollout planned for that. By the time we meet again, we ought to be able to get into really deep detail about that video. It's exciting. We're really pumped up about it. Speaking of video and media and marketing, yesterday Dane and I spent pretty much our entire day. Wait a minute, my days are running together. Actually, it was Tuesday. We spent our day with a film crew, and again, not to get too far ahead, but talking about our aerospace marketing cluster, about our aerospace industry cluster, our marketing efforts, Northeast Tennessee as a destination for aerospace and aerospace related companies, and about Aerospace Park. And it's going to be some major exposure that I don't really think we've had in this region before, and so that's coming up. So we've been busy with the marketing, with the recruitment, with existing industry. We had a good, have we met since Oak Ridge? Surely we have.
We didn't have an April meeting.
Well, we took a group of existing industries as part of our first program, which is Sullivan County's existing industry program, and we opened that up to Hawkins County Industries. There were at least a couple of companies from Hawkins County, and we rented a bus, and we took a little road trip down to Oak Ridge National Labs, and I think nearly every company that went, and there were, I want to say 8 to 10 companies, I have some ideas about how they might utilize that partner, and so that was really cool. Kudos to Brian and Dana, who did a lot of work on that, and so we're really busy, and the partnership's working, and always ways to improve it, and we're going to keep looking at those. But things are going well. Just again, about those grants last week, last Friday, Commissioner Rolfe and Assistant Commissioner Borden, Rural Development Commissioner, I guess Assistant Commissioner Amy New, and others from Nashville were in town to give away $2 million in grants to Northeast Tennessee. $1.5 million of that being to 2 properties that we represent, one being $500,000 to Aerospace Park, and $1 million for a rail site in Partnership Part 2 in Bristol. So our relationships are good and paying off, and I certainly think we need to be going after some money to move that sewer line for this site. And any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Clay, what's the status of our potential workforce? You see now hiring signs everywhere.
You know, workforce development, I've been exchanging emails with Lottie Rhines, who's doing some work in that area with the First Tennessee Development District. And that's a great point. I'm glad you brought that up. I don't think we're there yet, but there does come a point where you woe up on recruitment to let companies catch up to the workforce. And that's why the meetings that Rebecca organizes with our industries are so important. And I think we're going to have some time. We're going to keep answering RFPs and RFIs and marketing. You can't slow down your marketing or you fall behind. But I think we do need to look at site development as a focus and product. And I made some notes here that I take back away from the public view. But we need to get with our partners and talk about some workforce issues. We're not behind, but if you don't stay ahead, you'll end up being behind. And so it's something that we talk about at around my office a lot. And I wish I had something more solid to tell you. But things that are going on with some groups represented here, and certainly John with the work of becoming a work-ready certified community. But that qualifies your workforce. Quantifying is the thing. One of the hurdles in the recruitment of our latest announcement was not the 10 to 15 highly technical, highly trained needs, highly educated needs of the engineering and design people, but the 30 or so laborers. Sometimes I think people think, can you handle 800 jobs? Can you handle 1,000 jobs? Selling these guys on 30 jobs was one of the things that we had to do. And so we were talking about it around the office one day as they were really pounding on that. And I told Brian, I said, listen, look at these guys' wages. They're really, really good. Let's try to get a snapshot of our labor force, how many people that are qualified, because they were concerned about low unemployment. These guys coming in are not going to be hiring unemployed people. So we said, let's look at underemployed, find out the people who meet the requirements, who are making $2 less an hour or less than they're going to pay. And we came back and Brian got me the numbers the next day, and it was like 54,000 people. And that's kind of how we cleared that hurdle. But the workforce is an issue everywhere on 30 jobs.
Qualified workforce.
Yes. And again, those people who are already working in these jobs that we defined. So yeah, it's something we deal with every day, and it's going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. It's certainly not going away. Every project we work, most of our time is on qualifying our workforce.
Well, I think both Miyake and RMC both are going to be higher paying and higher and require higher skill jobs. And so, as Clay and I both told them, you won't have a problem finding people to take your jobs because of the pay scale is considerably better than the average across the Hawkins County and Northeast Tennessee. So, but now there is a time, like Clay said, that you reach a point where if they're a low skill and want to pay, you know, $10, $11, $12 an hour, they don't have issues. And so if you did have an industry like that, they just have to accept the fact they're gonna have high turnover and things like that. These latest two are not in that category by any stretch, without revealing a whole lot. I think they're looking at engineers and technical people and things like that for the majority of the jobs. Any other questions, anything? Clay, like I say, Clay and them stay on the cutting edge of everything, and this was the last issue that I mentioned about the sewer line being a real issue and the water problem. So if we can cover those two areas here in the next few months, and really, I think we'll have some things going forward. I've got to go. I'm meeting with a bunch of mayors from other counties down here. You all let the meeting go on so I can go on. Like I said, we're trying to keep our WIOA program. They set a meeting up at 1 o'clock. So I've got 5 minutes to get across the campus here down to the courthouse. And you all go ahead and finish up whatever you've got going. Welcome, and thanks all to the folks that came out. You all just keep going till you get all the questions answered. See ya. Thank you all. I want to throw it this way, and thank you.
Does anybody have any other questions or anything?
I got one thing I want to say.
What's that?
And, you know, we're talking about $10, $11, $12 hour jobs. Those jobs have to be filled.
Yes.
And my problem is, and I'm seeing this every day, we don't have any kind of qualifications for people. Most of the people are getting hired, even, networks, whatever it is, that are skimming through people, they're going through 20 people to get 2. The employers are hiring people and they work 3 days and they quit. And it doesn't have as much to do with the fact that they are paid too less. You pay them $15 an hour and they won't show up. Pay them $20 an hour and they'll show up 3 days. It's just we don't have qualified people to fit. We've been done a wonderful job. We've created a bunch of jobs in Hawkins County. We just don't have qualified people to fill them.
But I think that's an issue everywhere, not just.
Yeah, it's everywhere.
This is.
Yeah, if we could get rid of a lot of this free money.
I mean, you're touching on a good point. I mean, something I'm dealing with in Greene County is that programs that get high school kids into a factory during the summer months. There's some tangibles there for them to get into these types of programs, but it introduces young folks to work and what it's like to be in some of these settings.
John's got a vocational school over there that's not full. How many people could you use right now to fill you up?
About 60.
60. They'd have a job in Phipps Bend if they went
it
through
has
the
a lot to
program.
do with trying to get that group exposed to this. I heard a statistic not too many weeks back that 70% of homes in Greene County, not to pick on Greene County,
No, you're doing a wonderful job.
but have no one that goes to work in that household. And
That's
it
exactly
encompasses a lot of retired folks as well. But I mean, it's a huge deal when you think about that.
That's exactly.
People just need to be exposed to jobs and get a little more involved with industry and get these kids at an early age understanding.
See, we don't have farms where kids come off the farms and they've worked all their life in. Now all they know is iPad.
Well, we're trying to develop too, some co-ops, some apprenticeships, and different programs that they can
get see
into,
that and get involved.
get into the factories. And
A
places.
lot of people don't need to go to college, they need to go to vocational training.
Matt Garland is talking to me about the program you have in your guys. It's
Sure.
an incredible program. Yeah. And Matt and Mitch Miller, NetRep, and Marshall Ramsey at Hamlin County. Marshall does an incredible job. And as is Matt. I mean, Matt is one of my favorite folks. And don't tell him I said it. but I won't get too big-headed. But we meet, we've been meeting regularly, and I think what's important that we talk about these various programs, and so that we can adapt the best practices, because we all have to deal with these things, and to me it's an opportunity to stand out. To Rebecca's point about everybody else has a problem, so you can look at it as if, well, we're all on the same playing field, so level playing field, so we're all good. Yeah, but it's an opportunity to, if you can be among the first to deal with it, then you can stand out in a good way. That's how we look at that. I mean, again, our whole marketing brand of being where Tennessee begins its business day is because of Educate and Grow starting here. Now we have the Tennessee Promise. All these things that this, I mean, when I started, we weren't working with Hawkins County, so I was looking at all the things in Sullivan County. But you can look beyond this region, the RCAM, the TCAT in an industrial park. Yeah. I mean, those are very unique things, and then we need to learn to, but how do we parlay them? How do we, and again, as I said at the announcement, when we start working with Sigma Industries and Dennis Bertrand, the CEO, we were at dinner at Main Street Pizza, and he got his phone, he started showing me work going on in his factories on his phone. And that was cool, but what's really cool is as I watched that work, the robotics that were involved, which is cutting edge, and John knows all about this, talked to him a great deal about this. in our schools, when you look at all the things going on in robotics, I tweeted out Friday night, I stopped by, I live in downtown Kingsport. I was walking downtown and Streamworks that Dennis Courtney operates, they have a deal where while people, as they start the concert series, you can, don't use the term babysitting, but childcare. And so you drop your kid off there for a donation, and you don't just sit there and wait. They're teaching them the basics of robotics. That's going to be at work in this plant. And when we get plants like these, you take the kids in, and when they figure out that's what manufacturing is, they get more fired up about it. But the money going to that Dennis Courtney is trying to raise is to send an underwater robotics team to a national competition next fall. I mean, sure. That's the kind of stuff that got that company here.
You gotta have that exposure.
But you got to keep it going. Right. And anyway, this is a subject that we could talk about for the next 3 hours and still not be done. But it's on the forefront of everybody's mind. Bringing everybody together is always the challenge.
Sure. Sure. I mean, I'm a part of a manufacturers council that gets together 6 weeks or so. And it's all the industry in the area there, and they're very involved. It's a very
Green County.
Yeah.
That might be one. Well, not might be. I would, from everything I hear about that, and know about that council. It's probably one of the best 5 existing industry programs in the state. Y'all ought to be commended for what you're doing. That's what we're trying to get to with our efforts.
Yeah.
You know, we've got a robotics program at Cherokee School.
Yeah, and we have them throughout.
For up here.
Absolutely. Believe me, we talked about all those things when we were during this recruitment process.
It's just all about engagement, continuing.
That's right. But one thing that I wish that they do again, you know, Pal Barger has a wonderful way to train people.
Yeah.
He puts every employee through his own personal school. And we, the federal government used to have a program called OJT, on-job training, which they provided half the wage of the employee while he was learning a trade. And that kind of stuff needs to be back.
There are some avenues in some of that with new hires and training funds, so there's some of that still available. So.
It's interesting you mentioned PALs too, Terry, because we tell the PAL story we did with these guys, and they, you know, Canadians are very aware of, especially when you have advanced manufacturing to this level, of excellence measurements and efficiencies, and they're very well of what Malcolm Baldrige Award is. We talked about PALs. We talked, and after the recruiting was done, we the night before the announcement, it was on the heels of Bristol, Tennessee Essential Services becoming the first utility ever to win a Malcolm Baldrige Award. And I was in a car with the CO and COO, and when we got out of the car, they told the rest of their people, hey, listen to this, and asked me to come over and repeat what had just happened, and that 3 of Tennessee's 5 Malcolm Baldrige Award winners were right up here. They'd be in Eastman PALs and now BTS, and the others being Caterpillar and FedEx. But across the state of Tennessee, they have 5 Baldrige Award winners, and 3 of them are up here. That gets people's attention when you talk about that.
Good. Rebecca?
Yes.
I'll make a motion with
I'm not done.
Oh.
We've got 4 structures that probably need some attention about going forward. 3 of them are in the park. The other one's on the entrance to the park, the old building that comes down the road. The former Park Corporation building that's on the site, just past the spec building. The raw water intake building that is down by the river. And I think we still have 2 parts of double wide mobile home down near the firing range that were gonna be used for training, and I think they've just turned into a hazard. I don't believe they've been
It's still
removed.
down there?
Yeah,
No, is it?
I believe they are.
Larson was gonna get rid of that.
Yeah, it's supposed to be gone.
It's
It's
gone.
supposed to be in.
I've not been down there in a little while.
Okay.
Okay, so there are at least 3.
Yeah.
But we need to make a plan either to put a roof on part of those buildings or find a way to raise them and get rid of them or close them so that they're not a hazard for people that might, fall in or that sort of thing. I understand we had somebody homestead that building that we ended up with on the hill up there.
Yeah, that old
And-
restaurant.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and it's a block building, it can't be moved, and it was, when the floor was years old, so, we need a group to look at them and make a recommendation and, come back to the board and after we
put
get
you
some
in charge.
guesstimates. No, let's put Terry in charge and whoever he wants to serve on the
I've got an
committee.
answer, tear it down. Put a roof on the pumping station, it's
Yeah.
done.
We own that building, I just knock it down.
Well, the pump station pumps are likely no good.
Oh, they're not using it at all now?
They've never used it. They've just kept the permit open because it's a 2-year or longer process to get permit to draw raw water in case it's needed. PMT maintains that permit, so I don't know if having the building there is part of that or not. So somebody needs to make
I
those
know
calls.
prior to Cooper, they used to use that.
When you say draw raw water, you talking about river access?
Yeah, they just pulled it
Yeah,
out.
actually, it was right in the
Coolant.
place where the confluence of the creek and the river came together. Was where the raw water intake part of it was.
But it's there because someone may want to pick up water at some point.
TVA put it there.
TVA put it in and used it for the fire system that they had, and then it was abandoned, and Cooper, not Cooper.
It's not something that we could use
It
for
was the
another
prior.
company that would want to locate and have that access.
They could possibly use it because they elevated it above the floodplain and built this little structure just for that purpose above it.
That probably needs to be evaluated before we just take it.
The permit would probably be the most valuable part of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Put a roof on it.
Put it up, yeah.
They've continued to keep that permit open even though it's not used because of all of the bureaucratic effort it takes to get that
That's a
approved.
starting point toward the permit process, should anybody want to go.
And the building's so small, it's $400 or $500, it's not a big job.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the old, where the park corporation used to, store materials
Are you
until.
talking that small building right down from the spec?
Yeah, it probably needs to be looked at to see if we got insect damage or rot and that sort of thing. A lot of it's plywood. It probably needs to be removed, but somebody needs to look at it.
That building's supposed to belong to Sid Lawson. He bought it,
The little building?
yeah,
Well,
supposed to.
you think you could get him to come get it?
No, but somebody broke a window out of that door. I've been in it several times.